We've spent 5 seasons watching Eleven treat the US government like a minor inconvenience. Her nose bleeds, a van flips, and then she walks away. But in the real world, the US military doesn't take threats so easily. In Hawkins, the military, they act like a bunch of NPCs waiting for their turn to get ragdolled. They're disorganized, and they constantly forget that technology exists. But in real life, she's up against a multi-trillion-dollar machine designed to make sure nobody ever gets away. So, what would happen if Elle had to take on the real-life US military? Season 1. Eleven's story starts with her smashing out of Hawkins' lab, and in the show, the response is almost casual. A few agents roam around with flashlights like they're looking for a lost dog. But at this point, Eleven isn't just a runaway kid. To the military, she's a walking nuclear weapon that can do the unimaginable. If she gets snatched by the Soviets or decides to have a bad day in downtown Indianapolis, it's a national security nightmare. In a realistic scenario, the moment that the cell door is found empty, Hawkins gets locked down. Every road out of town, every bus, every station, every train platform gets shut down within an hour. The local police forces get told that it's a fugitive situation, and suddenly there are agents everywhere who don't ask questions. They're setting up checkpoints and running facial recognition on every security camera in town. Elle might slip through initially because, come on, nobody expects a bald kid in a hospital gown to just vanish into the woods, so she gets maybe 6 hours before the net tightens. That's her window. So she stumbles into Benny's Burgers because she's starving and hungry and has no idea how the world works. Benny, he's a good guy. He feeds her, he tries to help her, he calls social services. In the show, the lab sends one fake social worker to kill Benny and grab Elle. It's quiet and clean, but it goes horribly wrong when she escapes. But in reality, the second Benny makes that call, alarm bells are going off everywhere. The government's been monitoring every police scanner, every hospital, every social service hotline in a 50-mile radius. A call about a mysterious bald kiddo with no idea in a hospital gown? Yeah, that's her. They finally tracked her down. And now a full tactical unit is on its way. And I mean, guys, we're talking about unmarked SUVs, which form a perimeter around the diner within minutes. A Predator drone, which is the same kind they use to track down terrorists in war zones, gets repositioned overhead. Thermal imaging kicks in, the building layout has been made, and every exit is marked. Snipers have their guns pointed at the diner, and officers are in full body armor carrying taser nets and flashbangs. By the time Elle realizes something's wrong, the diner is already surrounded. Every window has eyes on it, and teams are waiting outside every door. So, Military 1, 11-0. Yeah, guys, I don't even think she's gonna get a single win in the real world, but you know what? Let's just say that she flips a car and runs. Okay, cool. But she's also bleeding out of her nose and stumbling through the woods while a helicopter with thermal cameras tracks her body heat from 2 miles away. Ground teams are already moving to cut her off based on where she's headed. She's not escaping that easily. But let's say she somehow makes it to Mike's basement, okay? The group thinks they're helping her, but in reality, they just handed her over to the military. Every time they hit the talk button on those walkie-talkies, they're broadcasting on a frequency. The military has signals intelligence units whose entire job is detecting and tracking radio transmissions. So within minutes, they pull up to the address, check the satellite imagery to build an entry plan. Mike's mom opens the door, expecting maybe a neighbor. Instead, it's federal agents. FBI open up with a warrant signed by a judge who didn't ask questions. They clear the house room by room in under 90 seconds. The kids are separated, and by the end of the night, Eleven's in the back of an unmarked van heading to a facility from which she may never return. Military 2, 11-0. Seriously, the second she stepped into a house with a registered address and landline, it was over. She was finished. But let's keep things going. Let's keep it entertaining. Let's give Eleven another chance here. Even after she leaves Mike's basement, the show acts like she can just walk around town. She's hitting up Will's house, raiding grocery stores for Eggos like the military isn't after her. The kids throw Nancy's pink dress and a blonde wig on her, and somehow it works. In a non-fictional world, after everything at the lab and a dead body at Benny's, Eleven's face is getting distributed to every cop in the state. The civilians are getting flyers with Elle's face that says, "Do not approach, call immediately." And so, Military 3, 11-0. One phone call, guys. That's all it takes. Special teams then get dispatched and it's game over for Eleven. Okay, so now let's finally talk about the scene that everyone remembers, the iconic van flip. Eleven locks in, blood starts dripping, and she launches a whole utility van over the kids' heads like it's made of cardboard. The agents just stand there frozen, watching a bunch of 12-year-olds pedal away on bikes like that was literally their only vehicle. The show just implies that the US government's backup plan was, hopefully she gets tired? One flipped van, it doesn't end this. It escalates everything. The second the van goes airborne, those agents are screaming for backup on their radios. Within 2 minutes, Black Hawk helicopters are in the air. They've got thermal imaging that can detect the heat from kids' bodies through dense forests from miles away. Ground forces are mobilizing and setting up roadblocks on every route out of the area. And now, here's Eleven's problem. She can't fight what she can't see. And before they even know, they have been pedaled into an area which is closed from all sides. And then we get to Hawkins Middle School. Here, Eleven goes absolutely bonkers. She's liquefying agents' brains, disintegrating a Demogorgon in front of a gym full of kids, and then she just vanishes. Life goes back to normal after this. In real life, though, it's a mass casualty event, and that's too at a public school. Agents are lying there with their brains turned into soup, and alien biological matter is splattered everywhere. Agencies with acronyms you've never even heard of show up at Hawkins, maybe even S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know, and they're investigating like their jobs depend on. Every surface gets swabbed, every air vent gets sealed, and thanks to Eleven, the gym has become a potential ground zero for something that could literally rewrite biology. Everyone who was in that gym gets questioned for hours, maybe even days. Some of them might have to sign documents threatening prison time if they ever talk about what they saw. And Eleven, after that display of power, she's not just a runaway anymore. Every intelligence agency on the planet is moving, y'all. The CIA wants to know if other countries have people like her, and foreign governments want to know if they can get to her first. Eleven will soon be found and relocated to a black site so hidden that the people guarding her don't know where they are. And now they'll try to study her, because if the US has a psychic human weapon, one thing that they're definitely going to try to figure out is how to make more of them. It's military for 11-0. Tough fight, guys. Whew, it's a close one. So we're gonna have to give the season 1 battle to the military. And if you think it already looks bad, then let me tell you, it gets way worse in the upcoming seasons. But let's continue and you'll see why. Seasons 2 and 3. Now, there are also people like Hopper. The man literally made a deal with Dr. Brenner about trading Elle's location. Regardless of what his real intentions were, he still put Eleven in real danger, and by doing so, he also secured a lifetime surveillance from the military. Congratulations. In Season 2, we see Hopper leaving food for Elle in the woods, hoping she's alive, but realistically speaking, the government wouldn't just let Hopper go about his business. They'd have agents watching his house and following him to work. They'd monitor his bank statements, his gas station stops, and literally every grocery store receipt. In a real world where a military operates in a competent way, they wouldn't have to find Eleven because tracking Hopper would do the job perfectly fine. Well, turns out the people you trust are the easiest way for the government to find you. This is why I don't have any friends. Now comes the 3rd season. A secret Russian base under a suburban mall explodes. A lot goes down, and the US government very conveniently shows up after the fact, cleans up everything, and tells the public it was a tragic mall fire. But you can't hide a fire that involves a secret underground fortress and a massive explosion. The military maintains a global network of seismic sensors specifically designed to detect underground nuclear tests and bunker busters. It's called the Air Force Technical Application Center, AFTAC, AFTAC, I don't know however you call it. So the moment that Russian machine exploded beneath Starcourt, the Pentagon sensors would have lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. The military's first guess would likely be an act of war. They would assume that a foreign power, most likely the Soviet Union at the time, has successfully invaded US soil and built a military installation. The entire town of Hawkins would be locked down, and the military convoys would start rolling in like it was the last day on Earth. The mall and everything within a mile radius becomes a restricted military zone. No one gets in or out without official clearance, a nice little badge. They'd be bringing in combat engineers to map the entire underground facility. Intelligence officers would lose their minds while figuring out how the Soviets built this thing without anyone noticing. Every single person in that building during the incident would be detained and questioned. The military would confiscate every frame of security footage from that mall. They'd have analysts going through hundreds of hours of tape. And guess what they'll find consistently in this footage? Eleven's face. because she was a regular at the mall all summer. Within a short span of time, they'd match Eleven's face against the Hawkins lab files from 1983. Soon, the authorities would build a network map of everyone she's ever been in contact with. After connecting all of those dots, they realized that she's the common thread connecting every single supernatural disaster in Hawkins. And so, the scoreboard is getting very interesting because of this. And now we have Military 5, 11-0. We have fun here, don't we? Season 4. In the upcoming seasons, Eleven is living in California going by Jane Hopper. She gets into a fight at a roller rink, snaps and smacks a girl in the face with a roller skate. Police arrest her, throw her in a squad car, and she's on her way to juvie. Then, out of nowhere, Dr. Owen swoops in, intercepts the whole thing, and takes her away. But in reality, this is where everything should have fallen apart. Here's the thing. The second a teenager gets arrested for assault, cops take fingerprints. Those prints get scanned into a national database that checks millions of records in like seconds. And 11? She was a high-value government asset who disappeared back in '83. And the local cops, while driving her to juvie, will get an urgent phone call from someone way above their pay grade, basically commanding them to stop right there. But wait, it gets worse. Jane Hopper, she got no birth certificate, she got no medical records, no school history before she's like 14 years old. To someone like Colonel Sullivan, who's literally hunting 11 across the entire country, that's not just some random girl with a sketchy background, it's a direct giveaway that it's the notorious 11. Following this realization, if Sullivan's team were competent, they would have set up digital tripwires on every police database in America. If a girl with zero history and matching fingerprints pops up in a report anywhere, his team gets an instant alert. In a situation like this, Dr. Owens would never get the time to pull off his little rescue mission. That roller skate incident would mark the end of this cat and mouse chase for sure. But guys, it doesn't end there because, in my opinion, the most incompetent that the military has ever been was at the time of hunting the hidden silo. You're telling me that 11's gang reaches her sooner than the military, which has access to the most sophisticated technology? Even in the show's context, it looked like a major loophole. Maybe Sullivan just never wanted to catch her. But the actual military, they have satellites that aren't your basic Google Maps satellites either. They would have detected the heat signatures coming from the bunker's ventilation system, the tire marks from supply trucks making regular trips to the middle of nowhere, the power draw, the communication signals, and everything will lead them by their hand to the bunker. The military wouldn't just become blind to a massive underground facility in the middle of a flat-ass desert, but here, they literally can't do shit even after locating her. In Season 4, Colonel Sullivan finally tracks 11 to that underground silo, though, and he sends in a few trucks and a helicopter with a sniper. And 11 just walks outside, stares at the chopper, and crashes it with her mind while the soldiers watch on. Maybe they were secretly working for Elle rather than Sullivan, because if the military identifies a target that they believe is a threat to the entire country, they don't send one helicopter at a time and hope for the best. The first thing they do is signal jamming. The moment they arrive, every radio and phone frequency in the area gets blocked, guys. Mike and the gang won't be able to drive up in a pizza van because they'd have no way to communicate with anyone. We all know about 11's weakness, that she has to see her target to hurt it. Oh, and later on, 11's in the back of a pizza shop floating in a dough freezer, fighting a mental war with Vecna. Outside, the military is searching, but they only show up at the last second for a dramatic shootout. But let's be real, a group of teenagers hiding in a pizza shop ain't exactly hidden. The military would move smart here, because whenever 11 enters a trance to travel into her mind, she isn't just thinking, but she's outputting massive amounts of electromagnetic interference. Do you remember how she makes the lights flicker? Yes, I'm talking about that and more. The military would have units scanning for anomalous radio frequency interference. The second Elle starts that psychic whirring, she's broadcasting her exact location to every antenna within 10 miles. While the show lets 11 finish her mind fight for dramatic purposes, it would never happen in real life. They'd immediately chuck a flashbang through the window. The deafening noise and blinding light would instantly shock 11's brain. Since her mind is already under massive pressure from fighting Vecna, the physical shock would probably knock her out cold or at the very least cause an immediate seizure. So we've got Military 6, 11-0, whoosh, just like that, she's done for. But we still got Season 5. Season 5. By the final season, the military is convinced 11 is the enemy. Her powers look like Vecna's, so they think she's the one causing the rifts and killing people. They're not trying to capture her anymore, they're trying to eliminate the threat. And credit where it's due, in the final act, the government finally starts acting like a real military. They turn Hawkins into a total quarantine zone with fences and checkpoints. It's the first time they actually look prepared, but there's still a massive flaw in their strategy. After years of face-offs, the military should have realized that every time Eleven uses her powers in an actual occupation, they wouldn't just be checking IDs at the gate, but they'd be blanketing the town in sensors to secretly detect her. Monitoring those random energy spikes would end the series, really. The second Elle tries to reach into the void or fight a monster, the biggest mistake that the show makes here is having the military fight fair. They keep sending helicopters and trucks right up to Eleven so she can see them coming and use her powers. But really though, why would they get close? If you think someone's a walking weapon of mass destruction, you don't walk up and introduce yourself, do you? You use a sniper, a trained marksman who can sit on a hill over a mile away and take out Eleven. Once again, Eleven can't stop what she can't see coming. Then, in the final showdown, Stranger Things makes it look like a desperate street fight. Soldiers in the middle of Hawkins firing rifles at monsters while looking completely overwhelmed. The show needs you to believe the military is helpless so Eleven can show up and save the day. But if the military realizes standard bullets aren't working, they switch to incendiary rounds. They know these creatures are weak to heat, so the military has bullets specifically designed to punch through a target and burst into flames inside. Instead of sending men into a meat grinder, they'd burn the monsters from a safe distance. While Eleven is preparing for a dramatic mental battle, so the explosion creates a shockwave so powerful it collapses everything around it. One direct hit into the rift would cave in the tunnels and crush every creature inside instantly. In the real world, Eleven would be standing there ready to use her mind, only to watch the military turn the entire rift into a smoking crater. So, curious about the final score? It's Military 7 and Eleven 0. A total shutout. Yeah, when I said the real-life military versus Eleven ain't even close, I really meant it. The final verdict. When you look at the technology, the resources, and the sheer scale of the United States military, the answer, it's pretty obvious. Eleven is powerful, but she's also a single point of failure. She gets tired, she bleeds, she needs to be close to her targets to hurt them, and a lot more flaws. The real military is a decentralized machine. It doesn't matter if she flips one, it doesn't matter if she crashes one helicopter, because there's a drone 5 miles up that she can't even see. And let me know in the comments below if you agree. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, or the military will come for you as well. Thanks for watching, have a good one, and